Hello, one and all. Welcome to another season of Aegis Esports. This is opening day for the Aegis Defender League 2026 Winter Split. There are 23 teams competing in this season of the ADL, and they have been divided into 4 groups. Over the course of the next 5 weeks, the teams will play a single round robin within their group, after which the top 3 teams of each group will auto-qualify for playoffs. After the round robin, there will be a 2-week qualification stage where the 4th and 5th place teams of each group will duke it out for the remaining 4 playoff spots. Very cool format. More on that later. Our first dream match of the season is an Ionian altercation featuring Akuma Peacemakers versus XSV Orion. Both teams, I'm sure, will be looking to get off to a strong start in what some folks have already dubbed the Group of Death. My name is Crewman44. I am very excited to be here for what I am fairly certain is my first ever Aegis cast, and I wouldn't want to be joined by anybody else other than the spectacular Storm for the season. Mr. Storm, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic, Crewman, as always. It's great to hear from you, and I'm excited to be casting Aegis as well. I believe this is both of our first times here. People might recognize us, that we've mostly been in Blue Otter League, but we're branching out this season, hoping to join some new teams, get some new faces in. Diamond is also a new division, mostly for us. I have played in this division a little bit, whereas Crewman mostly been keeping around in Emerald is where you're at. But this is our first time casting, I think, this high elo as well. And I'm really excited to see how the teams are going to be doing and see the macro play and all the differences but from their lower Emerald Brawler and
Yeah, of course, of course. It's always, I really do. I've cast a little bit of like higher elo stuff before as well. It's not like I have exclusively cast Emerald and Below or anything like that, but I really do, enjoy casting, as high level league as I can get my eyeballs on. As it really is a treat to, we're going to have a whole season of really high elo gameplay here, Storm. So very, very much looking forward to it. I think we're going to be getting into our game 1 draft pretty shortly here. We've been sitting on this patch 26.3 for almost a week now, Storm. In terms of draft priorities from these teams tonight, what are you hoping to see? What are your expectations before we really get into it?
Well, I'm sorry to say, but I don't think Kog'Maw is the OP pick anymore, as much as I want him to be. Yeah, everyone can shed a tear for that. Someone that a champion that I've been pushing hard, wishing teams would draft, but I think kind of a lot of the stuff you've been seeing in like the LEC and various leagues like that, I think Yunara is a very high priority ADC. I believe Jace Jungle is also an incredibly high priority. Not as much in the top lane as because he has such high counters with a lot of the tanks, but just in the jungle position, you're just able to effectively farm up so easily and just get poke before any major team fights break out, I think is really, really good. But I feel like there's a lot we can talk about in terms of draft, but I feel like we can talk about that as the draft's happening. I feel like maybe we should introduce these teams and see if we can get this draft right underway here, Crewman.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's pull up the rosters for these 2 squads. We're going to be spectating for tonight's action, starting with Akuma Peacemaker. So in the top lane, Dawami Poppy. In the jungle, Rigamortis. Mid lane, 123 Cool Kitten. Bot lane, K-Technology. I assume I'm pronouncing that right. Please correct me if I'm not. And then support Arcadius. Anybody here that you recognize, Storm?
Yeah, I've played against Rigor Mortis before, and I recognize them quite a bit. And I've also seen Arcadius, and I think they were on the other side of the division in BOL Diamond when I was playing there.
Yeah, I was watching the draw show earlier, and they were talking very highly of Dwami there in the top lane, saying that he's one of the strongest top laners in the league. The jungler was identified as a little bit more of a supportive jungler. Would you agree with that assessment of Rigor Mortis?
Yeah, from what I remember playing with him, there was a lot of stuff in his pool that was very much more like supportive. That he had like, I remember like a lot of Wukong, a lot of more team fighting style things. I believe they played Trundle when they played against us. But I believe he does have like some other like high priority targets. I know he plays a ton of Viego. That's what I really remember about them from our scouting.
Interesting. Well, that doesn't sound particularly supportive, but would be very exciting to get a Viego game tonight. They also were talking about, strong presences in the mid lane and AD carry positions as well. But Storm, would you like to rattle off the starters for XSV Orion?
Yeah, so XSV team that organization that's been quite dominant from what we've seen in Emerald, and I'm excited to see if they're able to continue this in Diamond. So in the top lane, we have Jolts. In the jungle, Phoenix Flare. Mid lane is Mid is Cool. AD carry, we have Impress, and then support, we have Chief.
Yeah, absolutely. And anybody here that you recognize, any players you've played against?
Phoenix Flare, I definitely recognize. I believe they came up in Emerald, and we had seen them before down there, and seeing them up in this league now. I don't recognize anyone else on this roster, unfortunately, but Chief, their support is already master tier, I can see this season, so they are doing quite well in solo queue, so they probably are someone to watch.
Yeah, definitely. On the draw show, they did call out Chief as well, saying that it's possibly one of the best supports in the league. And apparently there's also the mid laner there. Mid Cool is a former champion in Risen. So potentially very, very strong top side here. And then Impress, you know, the folks on the draw show identified Impress as a little bit of an unknown quantity. Not really sure so much what to expect there. So excited to see what kind of first impression Impress is going to be making on us tonight. What Impress is going to impress on us as that first impression, if you will. But here we go, Storm. Into the first draft. Akuma. Shout out, Matt.
Akuma.
Thank you for the lesson there. It's going to be banning away the Ari there on blue side to start off this match. And then Viego, that Viego that you were just talking about, Storm, going to get taken away for that first red side ban.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's a pretty strong jungler. It's just that thing that Viego, for some reason, has like one of the fastest clears in the entire game. Is just like something that kind of is unsung about him, right? So that means you're able to get to Scuttle Crab fights sooner than other champions, and just has quite a bit of team fight presence. So, you know, if he can get those resets going. Other bands coming through, the Rel and the Oriana for the side of Akuma. Definitely kind of a little bit of eclectic, but are kind of focusing a little bit more on these mid lane bands. I think those are two definitely classics, and we're seeing our first hover. I don't know if that's been locked so far, but hopefully it is. I think Zaheen is really interesting in the top lane specifically.
Yeah, I mean, he's very strong in the jungle right now as well. You know, talking about fast clears, he's got a pretty speedy one as well. So I feel like a great option there for Akuma to open up with a flex option in the B1 slot. Makes a lot of sense. And now XSV Orion, let's see what they're going to go for in response. If they're going to prioritize perhaps mid jungle or the Yunara, another pick that you called out earlier. Definitely a strong pick at the moment.
Yeah, I think just has such amazing team fight prowess. You're really able to get going, get some of that on hit stacking, even going able to go crit if you want. All depends on how you feel playing the champion, and just has such really strong like uptime. That's how I kind of measure every ADC, is like when their strongest point is, and like what their buffs that they're able to give themselves. And Yunara definitely has that once you trigger your ultimate. They're going to lock Volibear themselves, another sort of flex position, generally seen more towards the jungle, I would say, in top lane nowadays.
Yeah, I did want to mention really quickly, Yunara most played for Impress, so far this season. So some comfortability there as well. But yeah, the Volibear coming through in the R2 slot. Dusk and Dawn was changed slightly on this patch. It has more health now, and I believe you get a little bit less damage on the Spellblade proc. But Volibear is not going to mind a little bit more health. I definitely feel like he is a pretty strong pick at the moment as well. The Aphelios going to come out in response in the AD carry position for Akuma, going up against that Yunara in the bot lane.
Yeah, definitely an AD carry that's really risen in priority this season. As you know, Infinity Edge is back. Kind of crit marksmen are much stronger. Rise, I think, also here getting locked in for Akuma, which is another huge pick for them. I think that champion is disgusting. Actualizer has given like new life into Rise with those mana buffs and just being able to stack tier items and things like that, that you're able to just do so much damage. Laning phase is pretty safe. Those Baron and Called Boots gives you, you know, a whole bunch more safety and options in the mid game to split easier. I think Rise is really strong, and I'm guessing we're going to see a mid lane counter pick. No, going to go for the Lulu here, deciding that the XSV really wants to focus on their bot lane is kind of a takeaway. Aphelios is another AD carry that really likes having that enchanter with them, so this Lulu, while also being a pick for them, is a takeaway, so I can support that for Chief here.
Nice one. I see what you did there, Storm.
Yeah.
Does mean that we have some mismatched picks, for these two sides. So XSV Orion had the opportunity to ban away some support options that they would not want to go up against as their Yunara Lulu bot lane. The side of Akuma, they can take away a couple of mid lane options potentially that might be strong into the Rise. See the Nautilus taken away by Orion so far, and the Syndra banned away by Akuma would of course have that little bit of a range advantage over the Rise with the Scatter the Weak. So makes a lot of sense there.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Mel is still a champion anymore. I'm pretty sure she's not after this patch that Riot decided that everyone hates her and they wanted to nerf her basically into the ground, which I know is definitely something mid-cool. I'm just looking at plays a lot more. They still have the Aurora, I believe, is still available as kind of like that battle mage answer. There's always the classic Victor as well, Nico. There's still quite a few like picks open that I think are pretty good into Rise here. Talia is going to be one of their other bans here. Not that many dashes for their team so far, but maybe they're going to try and go for Rise and Jarvan or something like that. But
yeah. Well, Talia pick, just would give a little bit of extra priority potentially in that mid lane. If they're worried about, Riot definitely does take a little bit of time to come online, right? So if they were worried about that Talia getting some early priority, maybe affecting those side lanes, they're just going to go ahead and take that off the board. And there is the Mel is going to come through. So she doesn't have the Reflect anymore. That is easily, the biggest change that was made to this champion. She just gets a big old shield instead. So, we'll see how the Mel is going to look. Yeah, I actually haven't had the opportunity to play very much. I was pretty busy this past weekend, so I don't think I've even seen any Mel yet to post changes. So be really exciting to see how that is going to look. There's the Jarvan, another pick that you were kind of thinking about there. I think you were considering it for the other side, but it is going to come through alongside the Rise. It's going to be some nice team fight setup, a little bit of crowd control to set up for this composition that already has a ton of damage on the side of Akuma.
Yeah, they just kind of need some more utility here. They just locked in some engage and things like that, so I think you kind of just need your own sort of enchant or something like that. Nope, they decide more engage. That's what we need. Nico does bring that like crowd control and lockdown so that Aphelios and Zaheen can get more space in fights and the ability to free hits. There is kind of that like pseudo front line of, when you have your celestial opposition going and things like that and the clone scouting. I definitely like Nico here. Not sure if you're going to be able to, with Aphelios, get that really dominant lane that Nico wants for them. And Orion is going to go for the Malphite, bringing in Dwayne, the Rock Johnson, gonna appear on the Rift for our eyes. Just gives this team some really good engage opportunities. Aphelios is kind of like worst nightmare in a lot of scenarios, is just Malphite ulting him over and over again, right? You don't have any sort of escape tool or anything like that to deal with it. Just gonna be kind of how the rest of the team can peel off of it. I don't know if XSV or Orion really has like the tools to follow up on like a Malphite engage. I think a lot of these Malphite ults are going to be very much not going like directly for the like far back line of the Aphelios, but it's going to be going as kind of counter engaged to like Zaheen and Nico jumping in, and Jarvan and things like that. I imagine is going to be how this Malphite's playing. But I think we have two really interesting team comps here. Both are packing a whole bunch of CC. There's lots of knockups. There's lots of sideline threats on both of these teams, and a ton of team fighting potential. So I don't see any like huge glaring weaknesses so far, and I don't have like a clear favorite between the two of them right now. Do you, Crewman?
Not really. Yeah, I feel like both teams got some really nice power picks for themselves. Of course, I'm very curious to see how this reworked Mel is going to look into the mid lane against the Rise, which I do think is still extremely strong. They nerfed his W damage a little bit on this patch, but the fact that they buffed his item, I think he's actually even stronger now than he was before, and he was already extremely high prio on 26-2 as well. So I'm curious to see if the Mel is actually going to be able to stand up to the power of that rise. I do feel like XSV Orion have maybe a slightly more traditional composition in the sense that they clearly did draft around this R1 Yunara that they got for themselves. They have all this front line as well as, of course, the Lulu to buff up that Yunara even further to try to make Impress the main carry of this composition. Whereas for the side of Akuma Peacemaker, you know, they have a lot of really strong picks here. I don't think the composition necessarily comes together quite as holistically as what XSV Orion have, but just the fact that they kind of are still ticking all the boxes, right? They have Engage, they have some front line. You were talking about earlier, like the pseudo front line of the Nico. They have side lane threat, they can team fight, they can kind of do a little bit of everything. And yeah, I feel like any one of these players on the side of Akuma could end up carrying the game if they're able to pop off, get themselves an early lead, and could just be it. So very, very exciting.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, kind of like taking more and more of a thing of it. I am kind of a fan of the Akuma draft. I feel like this XSV team, as much as like they have picked a lot of champions with really high burst, if their team fight drags on, I feel like Mel is much more kind of been shifted towards utility in a lot of ways, that like her damage numbers, while still high, aren't as imperative, right? She's more about the consistent DPS, whereas like, you know, things like Rise and Zaheen and Aphelios really want team fights that rely on multiple rotations. And I think Akuma's team should be able to be given that chance as long as they're able to kind of kite out this initial burst from Jolts and Phoenix Flare of the, you know, of that Malphite Volibear. I feel like once that initial burst comes through, that if this team drags out, I think there's just more threats for Akuma having that Zaheen in the top lane as opposed to Malphite, who's not really going to offer as much damage. I've seen like Zaheen with Conqueror stacks once he gets to like mid game and having 4 items and, you know, hitting that huge level 20, getting to like absolutely disgusting amounts of AD, like 400 and 500, like more AD than ADCs. So
quick note before we go on here. I thought it was Zahen. Is it actually Zaheen? It's Zaahen, right? It's just one E.
I have no idea. Is it Zahen?
Zahen, yeah. I think it sounds cooler than Zaheen, personally.
Okay, sure.
I believe that one. Until somebody tells us otherwise. But yeah, we just noticed over here for XSV Orion, you know, originally for our draft overlay, we had the Malphite slotted into the top lane position, but it's something that I was honestly thinking about before. Feel free to not believe me because I didn't mention it earlier, but obviously both of these picks are flex options. Both the Volibear and the Malphite are very comfortable in both the top lane and the jungle. So what do you think about this choice, Storm, to send the Volibear against the Zahen and the Malphite into the jungle?
So I think the biggest benefit of this is, so Zahen's early game is like terrible, right? Level 1 to 3, he is very, very bad. That's like what I've noticed about him in the top lane is like his early game is, it's basically non-existent, right? Like at level 1, you more or less just have like an auto reset. And you can get run down by certain champions, and Volibear is like definitely the king of like level 3, I'm going to run you down and stat check you. So I think this gives this team like a really clear lane to me that they're able to play through. Whereas I think Malphite jungle has like gotten a little bit less prio in like patches, in these patches with the like W nerfs to his clear speed and things like that. I still think he's really strong in the jungle, and like you don't need specifically to be like matching up against Dwami Poppy, right? Like Malphite top isn't about like winning the lane and like beating your opponent unless you're like laning against like Gnar or something who has really low base resistances. Malphite just kind of stonewalls things, whereas Volibear could definitely win, and if he's able to be given more gold, just things with like that Dusk and Dawn Flicker Blade, like it's like there's like 4 items before Volibear like truly like becomes online. And I think in the top lane, you need that ability to get all that extra gold, whereas you're not able to get as much in the jungle. So I really like this change. I think this is going to give XSV Orion a better chance towards mid game. I think it's going to give them more threat for their team.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think just to kind of expand on that even further, I feel like Zahen is a champion that can certainly be pretty low impact if he does end up falling behind, right? There's not really a meaningful amount of utility in the kit. So if Jolt is going to be able to capitalize on that level 3 spike, right, and outduel the Zahen and put him behind early, that could end up being a big pain point for Akuma. As the game progresses, to not really have the pressure in that side lane of the Zahen. So we'll have to see how that does actually end up going. Does feel like obviously a more aggressive option for Jolt. You know, it could have just gone for the Malphite and stonewalled the Zahen, as you say, and just kind of farmed up and been relevant later on. But taking the Volibear instead certainly is going to give, you know, more potential opportunities for the side of XSV to maybe make some aggressive plays towards those sides and see if they can get themselves an advantage in that part of the map.
Yeah, but I mean, we're both kind of excited about this game. I mean, I feel like both these teams have a lot going for them. There's a lot of individual counterplay, and like laning, I think, is going to matter a lot this game. You know, Jolts does need to win top lane as a Volibear. Like, he can't just get like, it's kind of like you on your Jace and how much you hate Jace top lane, right? Getting a 15 CS lead and like 2 plates does not matter. As Volibear, I need to see solo kills from you, right? So for Jolts, I think there's a lot riding on him now, but at the same way, that's how I want to play top lane. And I feel like that's how every top laner wants to play top lane. Sitting back and being the tank player, I'm willing to do it like for a game or two, but like, give me the ball. I want to carry. I want to crush people. So I'm hoping Jolts is really able to do that and get some big like stuff going, because Volibear, what he is like really far ahead. I'm sure people have seen it, but like when you're level like 17 or whatever and the ADC is level 13, you can like 3-shot them, right? And you could heal through like their entire team like hitting you and stuff. So there's some absolutely disgusting stuff you can do with this top lane impact and all that extra XP. But got anything else, crewman, or should we just send it to a quick break here?
Well, I just need your prediction, Storm. Our first prediction of the season based on these drafts. Who do you think is going to end up taking this first game? You know, both teams, I think, preseason expectations pretty high. You know, everybody feeling like these rosters are pretty strong on paper. Some slightly divergent drafts, it feels like, for this first game. Which direction are you leaning for game number 1?
As much as I really want to believe in Jolts in this Volibear, I'm going to have to go with the Akuma draft. I really don't trust Mel as a champion after the changes that have been made to her. Like, I'm pretty sure she was emergency buffed. She's like that bad. So Akuma would be my vote. I think they're going to take this game 1.
All right. Well, we'll see if they're going to be able to get it done, or if XSV Orion, with the reworked Mel and the early Unara pick, are going to be able to take the day with some team fighting. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back with our first game of ADL Winter 26. All right, everybody, very short break indeed. We're already onto the Rift for game number 1. Of course, as previously mentioned, Akuma Peacemakers on the blue side to start out, XSV Orion on red. Any runes or summoners drawing your eye already, Storm?
Grasp for both top laners is kind of interesting to me. I feel like both these champions definitely like run other things. I've seen Blazzahin does take Grasp sometimes. I generally have liked Conqueror on the champion. I think it feels really good. And on Volibear, I am a firm believer in the lethal tempo supremacy in top lane. I just think it gives you so much more threat early on and the ability to kind of play it through these extended fights. Other than that, I think it's a little strange that Midcool here is running TP as well in the mid lane. I've seen a lot more of mages just kind of starting to go with this ghost like Cool Kitten is, that you're able to just reset more effectively in mid lane nowadays and just speed back to lane. with the home guard changes that you don't need TP as much anymore, but it should give them much more presence towards this mid game and late game to be able to be on the side.
We've already seen a little bit of interesting maneuvering coming out from Rigamortis on this Jarvan pick. Went for the Raptor start, and then I believe took a quick detour to check the enemy bot side jungle, and I believe actually was able to note the fact that the Malphite started down there. You see that defensive ward placed as well for the side of XSV, sort of in that bush. Just near the blue buff there in their own jungle. So I think Rigamortis was able to get a little bit of information, but was pretty inefficient with the pathing. So it's a little bit behind, as we can see here, in terms of the early clear. And now Jolt's going to be able to move down and able to spot out the fact that that blue buff is yet to be taken. So a little bit of a lead early on for Phoenix Flare on that Malphite. We also see Katanology and Arcadius down there in the bot lane, able to get some early priority in the 2v2.
Yeah, and there's a lot of heavy trading going on already towards the mid lane. We can see that mid cool is already like out of mana. Top lane, there's lots of trading. This looks like a great game to be Jarvan. There's lots of action on the map, and Jarvan is one of those champions that you have such a strong early game. We always want to see Jarvan actually gank pre-sex, right? And do something with his lead, because otherwise, why aren't you just picking something like Sejuani or some other tank who scales a little bit better? Definitely want to see where Rigamortis is going to spend his attention, but we see Phoenix Flare has finished his clear and is now scouting out. Just going to take a reset here.
Malphite was able to take that top side crab and is going to be able to get off that first reset, as you say. Rigamortis not going to be contested on the southern scuttle crab. I'm able to pick that one up, no problem. Still a little bit behind the Malphite in terms of tempo, but not the end of the world by any means. And it looks like we're going to have a Cool Kit in the mid lane there going for the first reset as well. Faster respawn on the Raptors, so Rigamortis can be able to catch up here.
Yeah, doesn't have his first back done, so we'll have to see if the Malphite is going to be able to start outpacing with having that Bomby Cinder, getting some of that extra clear speed. Interesting to see the Bombies coming through. I've definitely seen like people doing that support item that gives you like the ult burn on Malphite.
Support item. Are you talking about Zeke's Convergence?
Yeah, Zeke's, yes.
Yeah, it could be an interesting option. Certainly, you know, would be able to get that spike a little bit earlier, a little bit more of an affordable item. So could have been a good option. But, you know, going for the Bombies item is going to make you ultimately a little bit tankier. I believe it just gives a little bit more health. And obviously, you know, it's going to be nice for the clear speed with the passive as well. So I don't really mind seeing that.
Yeah, but pretty quiet so far. We see Volibear has gone for a tier and a cloth armor as well. So I wonder what tier item we're building for Jolts, if it's going to be the... I can't... Is it going to be like the
Winter, I think is called.
Yeah,
right?
Winter, right?
I mean, he went grass, but right? So I wonder if we're actually just going to be seeing the full tank Volibear here. Could end up coming through. I mean, it would mean that XSV would then be quite light on damage, I feel. I mean, we talked about this in the draft, how it feels like they really did draft around this Yunara very heavily. But that might be a little bit of an over-index, to be honest. And, you know, the Yunara certainly struggling a little bit so far, as we can see, just under so much pressure underneath that turret right now. So Nico lanes can often be pretty oppressive, and this one is no exception. Flash forward for Midcool. The Golden Eclipse, not quite enough damage to get the kill. Trade of flashes between the mid laners.
Yeah, and that was Ghost as well from Cool Kitten. Like, they're out of summoners now, which is a pretty big win now. I'm wondering if that's going to lead into an early prio here on this dragon. We do see Phoenix Flare is starting to path down there, whereas Rigamortis really looking for this play top lane, trying to get on the Volibear, but is going to finally leave. Jolt seeing that, knows when he can go in, gets that bite, gets that trade to be a little bit more even. I was about to say, what is Aphelios doing there? But that's just Nico and a spectator client. God, I hate that so much.
Nico'd again.
Yep.
Well, now I can see Jarvan number 2 making his way back down into that bot lane. Press and Chief gonna have to be a little bit careful about overstaying here. see if Arcadius actually wants to try to make some kind of play. I think it's just going to be a return to the lane and a return to priority for Technology and Arcadius for the failures of the Nico. But not feeling confident enough just yet to actually look towards that dragon. You can see Rigor Mortis in the area, but not wanting to commit to starting up that objective just yet. 1 minute out now on the Grub spawn.
Yeah, I feel like Grub's definitely got better this season as plates.
Really?
Yeah, because plates now exist for the entirety of the game, basically, right?
Yeah.
So the value of them, and you're not like on a timer. Like it felt before to me like Grubs, it was like you had to use them. 1 sec.
Yeah, Rigor Mortis kind of hovering around the bot lane here once again, and Impress and Chief kind of anticipating the fact that he might be here. They do ultimately face check the Pixel Brush, but the EQ is not going to land onto the Unara, but still the Cataclysm committed means that the flash has to be expended by Impress to get out of that situation. Wild Growth committed there by Chief as well, so a worthwhile attempt from the Jarvan, and now no flash on the Unara should be the go signal on this first objective. You can see Cool Kitten has the mid priority as well. It seems like Phoenix Flare is also in the area, might want to contest this, does have the Unstoppable Force available. The Dragon is mowed away by the Jarvan, and now the root onto Phoenix Flare.
That's a big knockup.
Is there, the Golden Eclipse as well, and it's going to be XSV taking the team fight. Impress dashing forward, 3 scalps already claimed by Orion, and Cool Kitten has nowhere to go. No flash from the earlier attempt. It's a triple kill for mid-cool on the Mel, and XSV Orion are up 4-0 early. Oh, but Dwami Poppy gonna pick up the solo kill in the top lane to get Akuma on the board.
Yeah, this is definitely a very strange Volibear build, I will say. We have a frozen, like the start of, I have no idea what he's building, if I'm being real with you. That's like Frozen Heart. We have all the things of building the... Yeah.
Very strange. Right? I don't think Glacial Shroud builds into anything else, does it? Oh, Zeke's actually I think it builds into, right? But
I don't think
not.
So, no. No? Well, I'm pretty sure it's just Frozen Heart.
Yeah, but it doesn't have the armor for the Warden's build, which is obviously the other component. So, yeah, very, very strange garage sale situation for Jolts. Did get solo killed there, but still even in CS. So... we'll see what that Volibear is going to end up looking like. But overall, a 1,000 gold lead for the side of XSV Orion early on. Honestly, would have expected that to be maybe a little bit more, given the fact that they did get all those kills. But you can see, obviously, there's a 700 gold lead in the top lane is helping quite a bit to kind of mitigate what would otherwise be a bigger advantage.
Yeah, I mean, the AD carries now are just even. That 20 CS lead for the side of... Technology is definitely like is such a huge lead for them. Like, I mean, but we're gonna have to see if Nico is able to keep this pressure on and like is able to land these knockups and things like that, because that's kind of the thing, is Lulu is gonna start scaling more and more and become more and more useful. So
there's not gonna land Unstoppable Force, the flash hold from the Malphite, and Phoenix Flare gonna pick up the kill. 5-1 now. XSV Orion pulling ahead, although we did see Rigor Mortis did get all 3 Void Grubs, but then had to flash away there in the mid lane as well to get away from that Mel damage. Midcool didn't have the Golden Eclipse available anymore, but maybe Rigor Mortis just didn't realize that Mel ultimate was already expended to kill off his own mid laner, so did commit the flash to get away.
And that's some big trades that Jolts has been getting here.
Able to use there, and Dwami gonna have to flash out of the Sky Splitter. So Garage Sale Volibear still pretty threatening, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, these Sky Splitter trades have been so good. Dwami is going for Trinity Force, something I see a lot of Zaheens do. I've generally... Zahan, sorry. I will try my best to get used to saying that. But I've generally liked Stridebreaker on Zahan a lot more. It just gives you that ability to stick onto your targets more. That I don't feel like a lot of times you need the ability to actually... I'm sorry, that's a double Kindle gem in Jolt's inventory. What the hell is going on?
What is happening? Well, I mean, at least one of those Kindle gems is ultimately going to become the Thimblewinter. right?
Yeah.
The other one is
Right.
a bit of a question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. Very curious.
Yeah, it does only
Dragon
build
a
in the
little over a
frozen
minute.
part.
There's a nice sidestep there from Chief. Get away from the Tangle Barbs. But Impress
Yeah.
still getting chunked down pretty low. See if the Yunar is going to have the opportunity to go for a recall here before the Dragon spawn. If not, it will likely just be double Dragon over to Akuma.
Yeah, I think that's the first quest of the game done there as well. I saw for Kinetology, the boots now in that special 6 inventory slot. Poppy getting a much better trade, able to ignore that side.
Trade of ultimates between the top laners as Jolt's trying to Stormbringer himself away from this one. Another shield from the Sky Splitters. 24 is done for Dwami. Zahan feeling very emboldened to look for these fights a little bit more aggressively. Rigor Mortis also in the top lane, gonna find the knockup onto the Volibear, who does not have ult. About to get flashback available, but might not even need it. Is gonna win this one.
Yeah, he's just gonna fight him.
Zahan can't get over here. Cataclysm now is going to be committed. Dwami has to get in here to do the damage. Really nice there from Rigor Mortis. Flags and drags himself out of the Cataclysm. Gets away from the bear. Jolt's not able to find any more healing. Tries to flash back over the wall, but this Jarvan combo is going to come back off cooldown. There's the smite. Going to get another slow, and it's just a matter of time. The Zahan is going to be able to secure this kill eventually. But Dragon is spawning now, and Jarvan is on the opposite side of the map. So can XSV capitalize on this? Looks like the answer is yes.
Yeah, they're going to get this dragon in response. Jolts is able to waste enough time to really make sure that this is fully secured by them. Do see a couple of other quests have finished. That is the mid lane quest done for the side of mid cool. We can see they have that as upgraded boots in their inventory. I think the jungle quest is done as well for Malphite, as his pet is no longer in his inventory. I think that's the tracker for that one.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely.
And speaking of other new things this season, Stormrazor, my beloved ADC item, in inventory for Aphelios.
It's back.
Energized autos are so cool. I love this system. I'm so glad every
cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue on about the Stormrazor. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm so glad every ADC isn't just like forced to build the precursor to the thing that gave you like the attack speed and crit that everyone built that gave you more Yuntal. Thank you. That item was so boring. I'm so glad to see Stormrazor back. We do see Rigor Mortis sitting down here just covering this push out here for his bot lane. Phoenix Flare is on the top side of the map just clearing down though. And I'm wondering where we're going to see the next kind of set of objectives, or like what's going to be this next big thing, because it's 3.5 minutes to the next dragon.
Dragon for Cataclysm onto the Lulu. Chief gonna flash away. Cataclysm for Lulu flash, pretty worthwhile for Rigor Mortis. He did spend a decent amount of time just kind of hanging out in this bot lane. It's a little bit behind the Malphite in terms of the jungle CS, but he's playing Jarvan. He doesn't really care too much. And it's just going to help him make sure that his bot lane is going to be able to continue to maintain this priority that they have had for most of the game down here in the 2v2. Now, of course, Phoenix Flare is down here. It's going to be a well-timed reset for K-Technology and Arcadius.
And we do see that Dwami Poppy has taken this full top lane tower here already.
2,000 gold ahead on that side.
Yeah. And this is the worry as you're playing top lane in this season. If you start getting snowballed on in certain matchups, there's not much you can do about it. You just keep losing, and it just feels awful, to be honest with you. That's why I think like certain like really strong early game picks have gotten so much better. Oh my god,
I think might be in trouble again here. Does have the Stormbringer available, but no flash. Kind of Stormbringer's right on top of the Zahan to get the damage, and will be able to walk it off. Gets back underneath the tower. And now in trouble, tries to flash on the Malphite ultimate, but just the edge of the hitbox will connect, and it's going to be the pizza wheel from Phoenix Flare to secure the kill. Number 2, I believe, for the Malphite, and number 6 overall for the side of XSV, able to retake the gold lead. The gold was tied once again a moment ago, but they're able to recapture that gold lead despite the massive advantage for Dwami.
Yeah, and that's both sums down for Kennology, so that's going to make this dragon fight in 2 minutes really, really hard, right? Malphite ult's going to be back up. He's going to flash R, And I feel like that's just your go button. You now know, okay, we now know Aphelios has no flash, he has no ghost, he doesn't have a support to peel him in any way. That guy should be dead 100% in like every scenario in this team fight. And I'm just hoping that the side of XSV doesn't overcommit trying to kill him.
Yeah, definitely. Especially given the fact, something else we mentioned in draft, right? The fact that, yes, the Aphelios can be a big threat. But there's also a lot of other potential threats on this Akuma squad with this draft. So, particularly the Zahen. I think what Dwami is going to be up to in the next 30 seconds or so is going to be very telling in terms of what Akuma are going to be wanting to play towards when this dragon does spawn. Do see that bot tier 1 was just now secured by K-Technology on the Aphelios. And it's now going to go for a recall. Should have another component. I imagine we're probably working towards an Infinity Edge second here for the Aphelios. There's the crit cloak. 50 seconds on the dragon spawn. Jolts back to base. Both top laners with teleport right now.
Yeah. I feel like anti-heal is probably something that needs to start coming through for XSV pretty soon here. Zahen having that healing. The Sundered Sky there for Rigor Mortis giving you that healing as well. Just something that probably is going to have to come through sooner or later, and I'm hoping they're going to have it and ready for this dragon fight here.
Here comes Nico. Gonna look to set this play up onto the Vol there. Early ult away for Jolts. Gets himself back out to safety. And it's the
Phoenix Flare.
For the
Hit him with the upplay.
Does find the Unstoppable Force onto the flashless Aphelios. K-Technology was pretty close to his tower, but not close enough. Gonna be another kill over to XSV. They're gonna get a dragon as well, but this is a really nice cross map that Akuma are committing to. They're gonna take this top inner and should be able to get another charge from the Rift Herald as well. We do see Midcool is on the way over, and Dwami might be in a little bit of trouble on the exit from the Herald. Really intelligent driving there. Gonna be able to take Shelly into the mid lane, gets the collision into the mid tier 1, and gets himself out of any potential danger. Now the route onto Phoenix Flare doesn't have the Malphite ultimate anymore, but did secure the dragon in the meantime.
Yeah, probably a fairly worthwhile trade. I think both sides pretty happy with that. Zahen for Dwami Poppy just getting more and more ahead with that. So hopefully he will be able to exert his pressure and go towards the bottom lane of the map where there is another tower that he can fight for. As Baron will be spawning in 49 seconds, kind of draw some pressure so that the rest of his team can maybe threaten that objective. Whereas, you're getting your dragon stacking, you're getting kind of more late game for Impress, who you're kind of waiting for to get kind of those 2 items to finish this Zeal item, then maybe start getting into your capstone item for this Yunara so that you're able to really, exert your pressure. Impress
your will upon the game.
Yeah, that would be a better way to say it, wouldn't it?
I'll stop, I promise. Yeah, so the overall, I think that was a pretty solid decision from Akuma to give up that dragon and get the extra gold for themselves in the top lane instead. So you can see the gold difference between these teams has equalized once again. We're basically tied right now in terms of overall gold. But it does mean, I think, that the contest over the next dragon in a little over 3 minutes is going to be really, really important, because you do not want to be giving over Cloud Soul Point to XSV.
Yeah.
So
look at this with Jolts.
In the 1v1, here comes Phoenix Flare, though. Unstoppable Force is available. See if they're going to be able to beat down this Darkin. Dwami has a lot of lifesteal. Like he wants to try to get over this wall. There's the Unstoppable Force, finds the CC Stormbringer over the top as well. The revive is going to be procced for the Zahen, but he'd already used the flash. Is he really going to be able to fight his way out of this one? I think that's Nico. Oh, it's actually the real Aphelios coming over to peel for the top laner. Double pullback for Dwami, and in goes Rigor Mortis with the Cataclysm. Flashback over the wall for Jolts. Is going to be forced to leave his jungler out to dry. Now the Pop Blossom onto Midcool. The Mel gets the big shield from the W, but it's not enough to get out to safety. 2 quick ones to Akuma, and now they are the ones to take the lead.
Yeah, and now this is kind of this Volibear's weakness.
Zahen in the jungle once again. Nice sidestep to get away from the pullback. And it looks like we'll have the move speed to get back into the base still. Akuma on the offensive, but the minion wave is going to get cleared out. Back over to you, Storm.
Yeah, so Phoenix Flare and Jolt's just kind of showing there that they are both just tanks, right? That Dwami Poppy, while he did go down, did have the revive, they weren't able to like burst him. That took so long for that play to happen that the rest of their team was able to rotate through and, you know, help him out, get their top laner. They got the kill on the Malphite, which is, I don't think it was a shutdown, but without Impress, this team just doesn't have any damage, it feels like. We haven't really seen Midcool being able to pump anything out either, right? So I'm really worried for this team. If they're not able to get this next dragon, like, I think this game might be really, really doomed for them.
You're saying, yeah, doomed for the side of XSV if they can't get up to the point?
Yeah.
I mean, could be. The Yunara is still scaling, right? It's not like Impress is going to fall off. You know, really just going to get stronger as the game progresses. And again, you know, they do have a really good composition for fighting around this Yunara. But it does feel like just, you know, the fact that there are so many threats on the side of Akuma feels like the fights are still going to be pretty difficult to play out down the stretch here for Orion. So see how they're going to be able to set themselves up, set Impress up rather, to try to carry the game. The dragon is spawning pretty soon now. We've got less than a minute on that, as already Akuma getting some control here in the river. Love to see that.
Yeah, I just feel like Midcool here seems kind of homeless. Like they're not able to push down this lane or anything. But there's the engage
in the enemy jungle. Rigamortis kind of keeping the bear interested. Tangle Barb's not quite going to land over the wall. Blast Cone deny there for Dwami. And still river control, of course, held by Akuma. 20 seconds now on the objective spawn. And XSV, perhaps the call here is actually to just give it. They're not going to give it. They're going to try to force their way in. So there's only onto the Zahen.
The Alpha Nails!
The Zahen dashes away. It's a massive engage from the Jarvan. Immediately the jungle gets hit, but the Golden Eclipse does a lot of damage in return. It's flashing forward as Kate now, but he gets stunned up into the Volibear. Belio's flashing ahead of his front line.
Impress is still alive.
And now it's 4v2, but some very low health bars on the side of XSV. And they're not gonna, neither side gonna be able to commit to that objective right now. I think we might be going again.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna get a mid tower here at least. They have that crystalline buildup, I believe it is called, the on that mid tower. So that's mid lane tower going down, which is gonna give their team so much more room as well to play for this map. And, you know, hopefully around this Baron. And I think you're right. It's round 2. Phoenix flares up. He's got ult, and what is that, 20 seconds or so? 30 seconds? It seems so short for the Malphite. Hopefully, yeah, it's already almost back up. The Golden Eclipse is back up for Midcool. Impress's ult is back up. We're going right again.
All right, here we go. Round 2 fight. And, that line brush in the mid lane, that control word gonna get cleared out by Akuma. More vision coming down, though. That is the main contest at the moment, trying to establish that vision control. Really nice Phalate control ward, though, for the side of XSV in that banana brush. They are going to be able to get back into this river at their leisure, unless that can get cleared out. And now here comes Akuma. They are going to be able to take back control of that banana bush, and they are going to start up the dragon. But here comes Phoenix Flare. As we said, Malphite ultimate is available once again. Dragon getting burned down. It's already down to about half. The Malphite can easily get into this pit. I think we need to see... Oh, yeah. That Rigamortis trying to turn for the team fight. Pop Blossom is decent on it, too, but it's mostly just the front line. The Moonlight Vigil does come out there. It's off of force, though. This time it connects onto the Abelios immediately.
Oh, my God. He got popped.
The damage, I think, may have been done. Dami trying to do everything here in the back line, but he's only on top of the Volibear. The revive is...
But Impress is dead.
For the Zahen really just has nowhere to go. The Impress, yeah, the Yunara has actually been taken down, so a little bit light on damage for the side of XSV. Midcool trying to do it, but is a little bit isolated off on the side. Rigamortis EQ away, does not get engaged on a 1-for-1 in that fight. Yunara being down is big, but the fact that they don't have that mid control anymore means that Akuma are forced to back away and defend their mid inner turret. Oh, actually, the dragon was taken. I didn't even realize that was taken by Akuma.
Oh man, this is so hard. Like, but you can see, like, if Impress was alive, they would like have that stuff to go for Baron, right? Like that would have been such a huge win. But Dwami Poppy was able to finally get them down and stuff. That was so well played by them. And oh, that's a big TP flank coming in from this Zahen.
Yeah. Yeah, the Realm Warp doesn't bring anybody in, but yeah, Dwami with the big flank with the TP, as you highlighted. Now the EQ onto mid-cool. They take down the Mel immediately, and Jolts doesn't have the ultimate, tries to flash the big wall, barely surviving on that sliver of health. The Volibear will be able to escape, but a pick onto the mid laner means this could be Baron o'clock for the side of Akuma Peacemakers.
Yeah, I mean, they're able to get the ward over the wall. They clear the blast cone. Phoenix Flare does evolve, but it could be a one-way trick. We do see the Volibear TP. They know this is happening. Can they get here before it's finally burst down, though?
Yeah, the Baron's
going to be so
really,
close.
really quickly. Phoenix Flare didn't have the vision, so the Baron is going to get taken, and now Akuma just need to get everybody out to safety. They've got a blast cone there to work with, and it looks like all 5 Baron buffs will survive. They get the dragon, and they end up getting a Baron as well. Really big sequence here for Akuma.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like it's such a huge win for them. I mean, just the amount of tempo this is going to give this team and the ability to play for side lanes and just slow things down, make sure that they're able to finish off these extra couple of items. And as long as Impress dies, I don't think XSV can win a fight. So that their whole team really needs to try and make sure that they are peeling for this Yunara. Arcadius.
Yeah, I think it was Dwami Poppy that took Impress down in that dragon fight, right? I kind of missed it during the fight. I was mostly watching what Phoenix Flare was doing on the Mal fight. Now he was getting on top of the Aphelios, but it must have been the Zahen that did deal with Yunara.
Yeah, and here's kind of my worry here is Jolts, can they match Coolkitten and all? Like, I don't think he can. He doesn't do any damage, right? He just kind of shields himself and like tries to like burst like kind of attrition war with this build, but he has built only armor, and Rise do a lot of magic damage.
Very true. At least was tanky enough to walk away from that particular engage. But yeah, it does have to be really careful about allowing himself to be hit by Coolkitten. We'll go down pretty quickly to the magic damage of the Rise, as you said. Baron buff on for about 1 more minute, and honestly, Akuma haven't really been able to get all that much with it. They're trying to sing up these minion waves right now, but Midcool doing a pretty good job of clearing that out in the bot lane. Going to be able to defend that bot lane inner. This mid inner looks like it probably should be going down. Canyon minion chipping away at that one. Not going to quite be able to finish it off in the end. So yeah, pretty negligible Baron power play there for the side of Akuma, to be honest.
I kind of agree in some ways, but at the same time, look at the items that have now come through, right? We see Actualizer on Rise, we see Infinity Edge and the Last Whisper now done for Kinetology. The Death Stance is finished for Dwami Poppy, which is huge for Zahen. Like, there's just so many big items have kind of spiked for them now. You know, Nico now has Zonia's as well, so like, I feel like this is just going to be such an easy fight for them to win. They have so many more tools now. I feel like this team fight should be really different. But I mean, it's 30 seconds to Dragon. We know that's kind of the bell that's going to ring.
Notably, Impress is actually ahead in terms of itemization as compared to K-Technology. So let's keep an eye now in this fight on how well XSV are going to be able to play around that Yunara. They are the ones taking vision control at the moment. And it's going to be forced to answer the mid wave once again. Nice control ward going down there behind the pit. Dwami Poppy not going to get tagged by the Solar Snare. And now Akuma regrouping. Once again, Rigor Mortis actually up to a flank position. Trying to see if he can find an angle onto this Yunara, forcing XSV to try to consider multiple angles as this fight is going to be breaking out any moment now. Both sides just kind of staring each other down for now, looking for an opportunity. Dwami back over the wall.
I mean, the mid control is now here. I like to see this. I mean, I feel like you guys can just push, right? That mid lane tier 2 is super low. You can start threatening towards the inhib. And I mean, the dragon's gone, right? Like, you got to commit.
All right, yeah, absolutely. So that is look like it's going to be the call for Akuma. They are going to look to try to break the inhibitor line. Here in the mid lane, they will at least get the tower. The base recall getting channeled. There's the Realm Warp back out to safety. Coolkitten going to be able to escort everyone back out of the enemy base. what do we think about this trade overall? Sole point for the side
Yeah.
of XSV, but the base now has been broken for Akuma.
I feel like that should have just been a case of you should have just told Rigor Mortis, go kill yourself, go ult in as Jarvan and then EQ out or something. Yeah, just engage, right? Engage into the enemy backline, and the team should follow up, because as much as like that trade is like good that it gives them the opportunity to win later on, it also means that
ult a wolf camp.
We did just ult the wolf camp.
Surely there was an enemy champion. Oh yeah, Rigor Mortis flashed away. Okay.
Yeah.
We were trying to ult to Jarvan. Impress now getting engaged on Cataclysm. Flash force out from the Yunara, but isn't even going to save him. Nobody here to help Impress. And Rigor Mortis just going to take down the enemy AD carry, the heart of this XSV draft. And now everybody on the side of XSV right on the wrong side of the rift. Dwami closing in, gets the pullback onto mid-pool. Mel immediately gonna have to flash away. The Golden Eclipse does come out, the trade back onto the Nico. But this Zahen and the Rise just running rampant. Chief gonna be the last one to go down. Jolt's the only survivor, only because he wasn't there. Silver lining though for the side. Oh, the Baron is about to spawn. Never mind.
Yeah.
No silver lining to be found, as it looks like the Nash will be going over to Akuma once again, their second Baron of the game.
Yeah, I mean, the silver lining is you didn't lose after having 4 people die at 30 minutes past in the game, right? Jolts was able to get that mid lane pushed out so that they didn't immediately lose, but this is just kind of the case. We didn't. Impress wasn't immediately synced up with his team, got jumped on by Rigor Mortis, who, you know, even though they are Jarvan, has built enough damage with his Death Stance and Black Cleaver and the Sundered Sky, like we had talked about. He has enough threat to just be able to stat check Yunara. Mid-cool, while they are 8-3 and 3, really needs his team to be able to stick around and get these rotations off so that this Golden Eclipse is able to actually threaten on the people who matter. Sure, you picked up Nico in the last fight, but who cares, right? That's just the support.
Yeah, now we can't see. I mean, we are getting to the point in the game where the gold starts to become less important, but it is a pretty big lead at this point for Akuma. You see overall, yeah, the Aphelios is now ahead. And obviously still
making a play into Dwami.
Top lane as well. Chief, where are we going, Chief? Going to the Death Chamber for now, at least.
Yeah.
Arcadia is going to be able to finish off the Nico with the Tangle Barbs. And now Baron on for 2 minutes. This bot in, or at the very least, going to be taken. You can see a mid-cool over in the top lane right now, trying to get a little bit of bounty gold for himself, I do believe, in the form of that top tier 1, but means that there's few members to defend right now. Onto the Yunara we go once again. Impress does pop the ultimate, dashes back out.
Here.
They weren't quite able to finish off that. Oh, that damage from the Zahen ultimate was massive, but he's not able to finish off Impress, and now Mid-Cool takes down the Zahen with the Golden Eclipse. Really nice stasis there is going to come out from Cool Kitten, and comes Jolts with the Stormbringer, but the Volley Bear not really that tanky. Gets shredded very quickly by the Aphelios. Ends up being a 1-for-1 overall as both top laners have gone down. Phoenix Flare,
Phoenix Flare.
The Chakrams almost finishing him off. Kate Technology just not quite able to secure that kill on.
Oh my god, Chief.
Huge chunk onto the Lulu as well. Yeah, this Aphelios is extremely scary. See the 3 items done now for Kate Technology. And ultimately, in the end, it is going to be 2 inhibitors down. A very successful Baron this time around for Akuma.
Yeah, I kind of am shocked that Akuma isn't able to just finish the game off here and then. This is going to come down to another dragon fight, right? It is sole point for the side of XSV, and they are... I mean, last game, we saw last dragon fight, right? They were the more decisive ones. They were the ones who were able to start it off. So we'll have to see. I mean, with 2 inhibs down now, though, and having to push out this bot lane for Impress and things like that, I really can't see this going well. Jolts, again, I feel like is just a non-threat, right? He's not doing any damage with this build. He hasn't built any AD, any AP. So you can just kind of ignore this Volibear. Same with Phoenix Flare. You know, while Malphite does have a lot of base damage, it's this point in the game, everyone has enough armor that you can just ignore it. And they're not even going to contest this dragon. So that's their sole win condition kind of going down the drain. And we'll see them march down top lane and see if they're able to end the game here for the side of Akuma. I feel like they should be able to end this game before they need this Baron. I really hope they can anyway.
Yeah, I think they probably should be able to. Definitely, I mean, there was really no way for XSV to get anywhere close to that Dragon Pit. So, I mean, that's definitely good that they didn't try to, like, force that, I think. Overextending into the jungle definitely would have just been the end of the game right there, I do believe. So they're going to try to have their last stand around this last remaining inhibitor in the top lane. See if they're going to be withstanding this pressure coming out from Akuma. Jolt's shrunk down low. Looks like he is going to have to go back to the fountain to respawn, and that means the inhibitor turret will be destroyed. And the inhibitor itself can't be defended either. So 3 inhibitors down now. XSV Orion on their last legs in this game number 1. And Akuma circling like sharks, waiting for their opportunity to close this one out as the super minions start to pour into the base.
Yeah, and all we have to do now is just wait and see when this engage is going to come through for Rigor Mortis.
Eyes on the Jarvan has been very successful at finding Impress in these fights, very consistently able to exert pressure onto that enemy carry. Jolt's looking for something onto Cool Kitten. Does get the stun, the Solar Snare, even with the increased missile speed, not going to be able to follow up on that one, though. And now Phoenix player going to get pulled back by the Zahen. May have to ult defensively, holding on to it for now. There's the Rocket Belt, the flash for the Pop Blossom, finds the Malphite, as the Nico does get the engage, trades herself for it. Dwami onto the fountain is going to end up falling, but did do a good job of distracting the team as the first Nexus turret has been taken.
Yeah.
Technology still alive, kiting forward on this Aphelios. They're not able to lock him down. Jolt's down low once again. The Volibear moving back in, desperately trying to defend this last Nexus turret, but it's not going to happen. The Nexus now exposed. Mid-cool, jumped on by the Jarvan. Rigor Mortis just zeroes out the enemy mid laner. And now all they have to do is hit the Nexus. Jolt's gets Wild Growth dashing forward, but he just does 0 damage. Impress now trying to get in there, but gets destroyed as well. It was a pretty lengthy one. So start out the season, 38.5 minutes on the game clock. It will be Akuma Peacemaker picking up their first Nexus of the season.
Yeah, congrats to Akuma getting their first win there. Always feels good on stream to have that first win, have that momentum of a series going for you. But I feel like there's some pretty good signs of life from XSV, right? They played the team fights pretty well. Phoenix Flare really showed that they are decisive in their engages on the Malphite. I think Midcool, despite playing Mel, a champion we were really hesitant on, played quite well. It was 8-3 and 7. I feel like that was a pretty good game for them. It's just blue Volibear, not it. I feel like if we're playing blue Ezreal or whatever, the reason that was good was because all of your blue items did damage. Jolts, I feel like, just didn't do any damage at all. He did a lot of damage, I guess, to Dwami Poppy, but I don't feel like he did very much damage to anyone other than Zahen.
Yeah. I mean, it was a really close game for sure. It was a close contest, almost right up until the very end. Ultimately, I do feel like, there was some of those concerns that we had about that XSV draft that come back to bite them in the end. Thinking about that one sequence where Impress was kind of caught out alone in the jungle, that ended up being a really devastating, the beginning of a really devastating kind of sequence of plays and advantages that Akuma were able to pick up immediately afterwards. And then it felt like the team fighting got really difficult for the side of XSV towards the end there, trying to deal with all of the threats that were on the side of Akuma. But overall, really close game. And, all the players in that game really, I think, had some good moments. But for the side of Akuma Peacemaker, who's your game 1 POG Storm? What do you think?
As much as I feel like I really want to highlight Rigor Mortis, I think they were really instrumental in that win playing the Jarvan, getting those engages. I think it's Dwami Poppy in the top lane. I think he played incredibly well. His bot lane of Kinetology and Arcadius, I think, also deserve a shout out for their lane prowess, that they were able to get such a big lead individually. But I think that Zahen did so much work towards the fights and stuff. That one fight where Impress died at that dragon fight, I'm pretty sure it was a solo 1v5 dive, right? And he killed him. So I think Zahen was definitely the MVP for me, so I would be going for them.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think, another thing to consider there is the fact that they took the Zahen B1, right, in the draft. So there's a lot of draft resources given to Dwami there in the top lane as well. And I felt like he was really able to capitalize on that pretty nicely. So happy to agree with you there, Storm. I think Dwami, a solid POG performance in that game number 1. And now I believe we're going to get side selection coming out from XSV. See if they're going to go back to the red side again and try to get maybe a little bit more done with their counter pick, or if they're just going to go ahead and take a blue side for themselves. Production, are we going to a break here, or are we just hanging out for this next draft? Okay, let's get into a break, and then we'll be right back, guys, for our Game 2 champions, like between these heavy hitters in the ADL. Don't miss it.
So what is to be left for us? My people look on and say, don't fear what you don't know, 'cause we're far from certain fate. And we'll make our final stand, lost in the dark. We've come so far, another step to rid the pain. Go and be counted till you're lost in, 'cause only nightmares break their frames. So stand upon these fallen lands and follow in our Father's plans. Yeah, until the end we will remain, and we'll hold on until the last fellow armsmen, I ask you, will you follow me tonight to break their spine and reclaim what once was mine? Those cravens backstabbed me, deceived me. Never shall I tolerate their crimes again. Now let the hunt begin. Oh, 7,000 souls scared and daunted, such a tale of woe. Not too long ago, this village was a golden scene of hope. Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace. Restore our glory to live forever.
right, everybody, welcome back. We are now getting underway with our Game 2 champion select between Akuma Peacemaker and XSV Orion. Looks like XSV are going to opt to stay over on that. Oh, never mind. We just got the side switched. They're going to go over to blue side. Storm, your thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. Blue side, I think definitely there's a lot of power picks in the meta that you definitely want. So wanting to be on blue side, I think, is very powerful. But I'm a top laner. I want to be on red side. I want top round 5 counter pick. I want to win top lane. That's how I feel a lot of the time. So I am generally a red side enjoyer. I think Gwen is a really interesting first pick. Generally, I feel like she's become like more of a jungler yet again, that you don't see her in the top lane nearly as much unless it's like a specific matchup. You know, if you see something like the Mundo or something that doesn't have a lot of threat early. But I think that champion is so very strong when it comes to like the ability to just stick onto people. Dusk and Dawn on her is very, very powerful. For Akuma, we see this Vi and the Azir coming through. I think both very, very strong team fighters. Lots of lockdown opportunity. Just a whole bunch of team fight prowess as well. I definitely like both these picks coming through already.
Yeah, it is somewhat of an unusual pairing, I feel, the Vi and the Azir. You know, Vi is generally thrives the most in kind of pick compositions, right? Where you're really just looking to lock down that single target and blow them up, whereas Azir is, you know, one of the premier 5v5 team fighters. So, you know, not necessarily the most common of pairings, but certainly, you know, they can work very well together. You know, they can set each other up to try to look for angles. So excited to see what that is going to look like on the side of XSV Orion. You know, talking about premier 5v5 team fighters, they have got, in addition to their Gwen, that now a Victor and a Sivir. So that is just a ton of AoE damage that they've got for themselves. Clearly looking to draft towards team fight once again here.
Yeah, my big worry for them is they do not have very good early game so far, right? They have a whole bunch of scaling. They have a whole bunch of wave clear as well, but they have very little gank setup. Gwen is notably does a lot of damage, has no CC whatsoever, right? Victor generally brings damage towards ganks, isn't bringing, you know, the CC setup. People don't stand in gravity well. And Sivir, again, lots of damage, no gank setup, you know, nothing like an Ashe or something like that. A lot of the time what you see with Gwen, more utility ADCs. Jhin, I think you see a lot with her as well. This Victor, sure, I think it's good into the Azir, and it's definitely comfort for the side of XSV, but I don't think it's necessarily like something huge that's going to like win you on the spot. This is Fearless as normal, as we kind of, I don't know if we've touched on that. You know, picks that we saw through, like that Rise and things like that in game 1 aren't available. Round 2 bans also have come through as well. We see that Ophelia, or the Taric and the Braum ban for the side of Akuma, wanting to make sure that this Alistar has the ability to engage kind of, you know, freely. Some of these more huge disengage tools taken out for them, whereas XSV going after Jax and Ashe, wanting to get some kind of more easy engage options.
Oh, all right. So the Kaisa locked in as well now on the R4 means that Akuma are really indexing into dive with this composition. You know, as highlighted, you were just talking about those phase 2 bans and the Braum and the Taric, you know, obviously 2 of the best disengage supports in the game. So Akuma are really going to be looking to zero in, you know, on these 2 relatively vulnerable immobile carries that we already see on the side of XSV Orion. They've got a ton of great tools now for the side of Akuma to get on top of those guys. And now for Orion, we need to see what they have in response. The Poppy feels like a great answer in this situation.
Yeah, definitely like that. I was thinking maybe Janna as well or something like that. This could be Poppy top lane, right? Doesn't have to be support. That is one of the strengths of Poppy. She is a flex into so many different spots. Again, this Gwen isn't locked into jungle either. This could be Gwen top lane, could be Poppy top lane. We don't know until we see this final pick and where things kind of consolidate for this team. Sion, that one's probably top lane, so I feel like we've kind of got our answer here of Sion top, Gwen jungle, Poppy support.
Yeah, feels pretty likely. Don't know if we'll be getting surprised in our next overlay this time around.
I mean, it is possible we could see Scion jungle, right, and Gwen top. That could happen. Could randomly see Scion support. But
Senna, I think.
yeah. So, what are we going to round out this top lane pick here? This team kind of needs engage opportunities. I think Horn seems pretty good here just to answer the super tank battle and to have your own ability to start fight off. Or you can
Also
go into
things like
something.
Gnar.
Yeah. Set as well. I think very good into the Scion. Does give you some engage opportunity as well. Olaf. Okay.
Okay, Dwami. All right, Poppy, bringing out the Barbarian. Very interesting. So great into the Poppy specifically, right? You can't, no matter how many judgments you try and pass, the verdict for Olaf will always be not guilty as long as he has that Ragnarok available. So that does feel like a pretty strong answer to the Poppy specifically, and should be a pretty comfortable lane up against the Scion as well. Very cool. Very cool. Very dangerous prospect, in general, to give, that R5 counterpick opportunity over to our game one POG, I think. See if you can make them pay for it.
Yeah, so this lane matchup also is really, really good for Olaf. As Scion, you actually just can't do anything once it's level 6. Like, you can't ult away because Olaf is always going to stick on top of you unless you're, like, flashing into ult or something. You can't disengage with like Q. You can't space him out because he can always just randomly press R and run you down. You generally run Ghost. So this is a very, very volatile matchup for Dwami Poppy. I think it's going to go really, really well for them. I'm a little worried about this bot lane of Kentology and Arcadius against Impress in Chief. There is so much disengage for the side of Sivir and Poppy that I think it's going to be really, really hard for Kentology to be able to stack those plasma bolts up and get some of that passive damage off that you really need as Kai'Sa. Notably, I think the Sivir isn't as great as normal because, like the Alistair combo means you're always going to land a knockup basically on the Sivir. You can't block both. Vi-ult as well generally is really hard to like actually block because if Vi presses R on you, she can just smite you to break your spell shield. So I think Impress is going to have a really tough time this game. Again, I don't know if there's that many tools to actually help them out. Last game, it kind of showed, right, that Dwami was just able to dive onto them and kill them like 1v5 solo, like through his team. And I feel like that might happen again this time for XSV.
Yeah, it does feel like there's maybe a couple of parallels to the compositions that we saw last game as well, where like, Akuma have really drafted a lot of threats for themselves, a lot of different, opportunities to try to get on top of those enemy carries on the side of XSV. But as far as, the bot lane is concerned, the Kai'Sa Alistar, I'm not really too worried about it, honestly, Storm. I don't think you pick Kai'Sa Alistar to win lane. They're probably going to be pretty happy to just hang out under their tower and try to, farm as best they can. And really, it's going to be the mid game, those mid game fights around the objectives when the Kai'Sa and the Alistar are really going to come online and contribute to this composition, this game plan for the side of Akuma. So I think that should work out all right. And, it's the Sivir or Poppy. I don't think obviously the wave clear is going to be great for Sivir, but it's not like they have a ton of threat in terms of trying to punish the Kai'Sa Alistar lane, right? Like if you had a ranged support maybe alongside the Sivir, then you could potentially like actually look for turret dives and like try to completely bully them out of lane. It feels like that's going to be pretty difficult with the Sivir Poppy pairing. I still think the Poppy was a good pick because you want that disengage into the entire composition of Akuma, but I feel like that the bot lane should be relatively neutral in the laning phase, at least, is kind of my expectation. You already touched on the top lane quite a bit as well. You talked about how that could be a really volatile matchup that should be pretty heavily Olaf favored. And that kind of just leaves the mid lane for us to touch on. And it's going to be, our drafts have disappeared temporarily, but it's Victor versus, what was it, the side of Akuma? Azir, thank you. Yeah, and you touched on that a little bit as well, saying that was pretty Victor favored for the lane, right? Oh, thank you.
I would say so. That like Victor definitely I think is better for the lane prowess and things like that. You're able to stack your E's. You generally don't stay like in one spot so that Azir is able to stack up the soldier damage and stuff on you. So I think it's definitely like Victor favored, but again, both of you aren't really lane prowesses, right? Victor isn't known for solo killing anyone, neither is Azir. You're both looking basically just to scale as much as possible, free farm, get those passives stacked, get the damage really up for Victor, you know, having to stack and get those upgrades for his kit, whereas Azir just needs levels to become useful, really needs that attack speed increases to be able to start getting some of those soldier autos and weave them in. So I don't think mid lane should be really volatile whatsoever, especially with both these junglers pretty much just committing to farming, I think, for a lot, that I can't see Gwen is never coming out of her jungle to gank, basically, right? The rule is to power farm if you're Gwen. And I don't know if we're going to see a lot out of Akuma's jungler with terms of ganks, because like it's going to be such punishing tempo for you. And it's not like you have like the greatest lanes to gank for. Like your bot lane has some CC set up, but other than that, you don't have all that much. And I feel like your top lane should win so hard in isolation that you don't really need to spend much time up there. So I think it's going to be a lot of farming for most of this early game. I'm going to be pretty surprised if we see more than like 5 kills by 10 minutes. I think it's going to be really quiet like last early game.
Alrighty. Well, overall, Storm, do you have another prediction for us? Is it going to be XSV Orion with another team fighting composition able to get us to that game number 3, or Akuma Peacemaker with their heavy dive comp going to be able to take the 2-0 in their opening day match?
I'm much more on the Akuma side. I think they have the dive tools necessary to threaten into XSV Orion, despite Orion taking so many things that are great into dive. You know, the Gwen being something incredible. Like, if people are getting on top of you as Gwen, you're very happy, things like that. But I think Akuma just has enough tools that they have the ability to explode this mid game, and they're going to be able to get a giant gold lead. And I think they're going to be able to take that into a win.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to be getting into another, what I imagine is going to be a very short break. And then we'll be right back to see what is going to transpire on the Rift for our second game of the night. See you there. All right, everybody, here we go back on to the good old Rift of Summoning for game number 2 between XSV Orion and Akuma Peacemaker. Our first game was quite competitive, pretty back and forth, very close for most of it, but in the end, it was Akuma Peacemaker that had a little bit of a more versatile draft and a big performance from Dwami on the Zahen in the top lane that helped them take it home. And now it is time to find out if XSV Orion are going to be able to come out on top here in game number 2, or if it will just be the dominant 2-0 for the Peacemakers in their first outing of the season. You see our junglers are starting on the same side of the map here. Storm both can be pathing down towards this bot lane. So ganking Olaf for a Scion doesn't make sense, and ganking a Scion definitely does have some
oh my god, he's gonna die.
Schultz is just getting mauled by Dwami here at level 1. The Olaf already forcing out the flash.
Yeah, so I was going to talk about and say, like, oh, there's some interesting things going on in the bot lane when it comes to our supports and the runes that they take, and that's Phase Rush on our Alistar, and we see Hail of Blades Poppy from Chief, so going for something much more aggressive, maybe actually looking to be able to bring some of that dive threat down towards the bot lane, having some of that extra burst potential that Hail of Blades gives you. But top lane, definitely stealing the show. You just see how these trades you're able to get as Olaf into Scion are just so big. That spike that you're also going to get from that triple tonic potion when you get that second one that gives you the AD, I feel like is going to be a guaranteed solo kill. We see the biscuits are here for Jolts, trying to make sure that he's able to survive, is landing a lot of these knockups on the decimating smash, which is great to see. You know, being able to trade back some of that health. Oh,
yeah, but joke's on him. Olaf gets stronger the less health he has, but he is now running very, very low on it, and likely will have to back away after getting this last couple of ranged creeps. And Jolts maybe an opportunity to get this wave in a more comfy position, and no teleport on the Olaf either. So see if there ends up being a bit of an XP advantage now for the Scion. Actually just trying to push out the wave, was expecting the recall, and now
there's the ghost.
No flash for Jolts, and he just has no way out. Can the zombie potentially get a trade back? No, he cannot, but he does get the flash out from Dwami.
Oh, here's Phoenix Flare with his ghost, though.
Yeah, and is going to be able to get that trade back. So I am losing some pixels, and I'm also getting some stuttering right now on the stream. I don't know if you're having any issues, Storm. Oh, is that an engage in the mid lane? That's going to be mid-cool, forced to flash and ghost away.
Yeah, I'm having a little bit of that as well, but I think it will hopefully be able to sort itself out. But that's a really big lead for Dwami Poppy. I mean, as much as like you want to be like, oh, the Scion just is able to get back to lane and things like that, it's in a spot where he wasn't able to get the shove in. That's the XP not being able to go over. And that's I feel like the really big winner there, though, is Phoenix Flare, right? He was able to get that blasting one early. He's going to be able to work his way towards that Nashor's Tooth that you still build, I believe, first before you then go into that Dusk and Dawn after. But, I mean, both items, I believe, are into that as well. So we could see either of them coming through.
Yeah, all right. I mean, Gwen, definitely a champion that is going to scale extremely well. So getting an early lead for Phoenix Flare, as you said, feels pretty amazing. Try to have that Gwen come online a little bit earlier. Could be pretty tough for Akuma to try to deal with. See, our junglers are into their second clears now. They're just going to be pathing down towards this bot side once again. I didn't quite see if Phoenix Flare, you know, was kind of denied the opportunity to look for that bot side Scuttle Crab, as Rigor Mortis kind of hanging out in the line brush right now next to mid lane. No flash on this Victor or Ghost mid cool. If he walks up any further, could be in a lot of trouble. Does tick over to level 6 there. So now has access to the Chaos Storm, and Rigor Mortis thinking twice about actually going for this, but he spent so much time
there's the 6
hanging out next to this lane. The wraparound for the Alistar as well. That should mean that there's nowhere for the Victor to go. He tries to walk it off. It was a pretty decent gravity well. Does get the shield from the Q. The decimating smash gets the knock up, but it's going to be Arcadius with the flash combo. Locks down that Victor, and it's going to be a cool kitten on the board. First of the game for the Azir.
Do we get another knock
now
up?
Get back underneath his own tier 1. Arcadius waiting for the pulverize. There's the headbutt back. The unstoppable onslaught is going to be an unstoppable charge straight into the fountain for Jolts as the Scion does end up going down, and that is 2 early kills for the cool kitten.
Yeah, I think that's pretty big for your Azir here in the mid lane. But that's the big worry. Yeah, so we just were waiting for that 6 in the shuffle. Yeah, right? That was what Rigor Mortis was just waiting for with that whole thing.
Yeah,
but I mean,
and it was pretty. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say it was pretty decently played by Cool there as well, mid Cool as well, to try and kite back towards his top laner to get out of that situation. But really, I mean, it was the gank from Arcadius, the roam from the Alistar into the mid lane that sealed the deal and made that play work for Akuma. So overall, they're in a pretty comfy spot right now in this early game, although that first dragon did go over to XSV Orion.
Yeah, I'm also kind of surprised that we're not seeing a bigger lead down here in the bot lane for Impress. I thought the Sivir would be able to kind of bully and get a lot more, plates and be able to really shove Ketomancy. Is that
Ketonology?
Ketonology? Yeah, I thought they were. Okay, here's Ragnarok. Never mind.
Oh yeah, level 6 for the Olaf. No ultimate. I think Flash is available for Jolt, or maybe he's about to get it back. The Olaf looks like he wants to go underneath the tower for this one. He takes the turret shot and dies. Dwami Poppy overstepping in the 1v1 and will be punished by Jolts.
Yeah, so generally you can run down Sion, but you need to be able to run down Sion not under his tower, because the tower hurts you a lot and can kill you. Sion generally can't, but the tower can.
So yeah, we saw this one trick.
Yeah, we saw he did start it all the way towards the mid, but like the lane was already pushing out. I feel like he just had to exercise a little bit more patience there for Dwami, and you would have been able to get that kill pretty cleanly. Maybe he was worried about his time at, pushing the wave, getting some of those caster minions.
Yeah, could be. Or maybe he just didn't realize that he was actually putting himself in turret range there. Not entirely sure, but we do see now a play towards the Void Grubs coming out from the side of XSV Orion. Dwami moving down from the top lane. First grub already gone over, and Vi is anywhere close to this. So Dwami just getting a little bit of information, drops that ward into the pit, and just susses out the fact that all these Void Grubs are being taken. Will be both of those early neutrals going over to XSV.
Yeah, and I think with that Sheen, I do believe this will be that Dusk and Dawn rush for Phoenix Flare. Kind of a really huge component, I feel like, is just so good on pretty much every single AP character in the game right now. Really, really good item. We did mention, it did get changed, gives more health now, less of that damage scaling. So, not quite as what you want on Gwen, but should be just the ability to clear through and get some of this damage. I'm wondering what Rigor Mortis is going to be able to do. They do have these 2 assists, right? But you really need to be able to start pushing the envelope and get something going as this Vi. It's really hard for you to be able to match this Gwen towards the late game. So I really want to see Rigor Mortis try and get something done in the next couple of minutes here.
Yeah. I mean, really, the composition overall spikes very heavily in the mid game, right? It's still a little bit early. You're still waiting for your first item on both the Vi and the Azir and the Kai'Sa. Everybody's still getting pretty close to that, but we don't have it quite yet. We'll see who's going to be able to get to that first item spike for the next dragon spawn. It's in a little under 90 seconds now, so that could be a determining factor in if we're actually going to see a fight around that objective or not. Obviously, XSV Orion would love to get up to 2 dragons very early here. That would feel amazing for a team fighting composition, because they just want to continue grouping around those dragons regardless. So being able to threaten an early soul could be really, really powerful for them. But we'll see, as it looks like the mid control, at least for now, is in favor of the Azir.
Yeah. Don't think this dragon's gonna be like a huge contest for either.
No, never mind, nothing there. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm wondering how this dragon's going to actually be. I feel like XSV, to be honest with you, doesn't need to fight for this. I don't feel like almost they should contest it in some ways. This is kind of one of those things of like, you've already gotten one. You don't need to do anything early. Your Gwen is still like coming online, things like that, that I don't feel like this is a fight you should necessarily take. I feel like the enemy team should be spiking a lot harder than you are. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a kind of a restrained play, and they maybe go for a gank, maybe try and get Dwami Poppy further behind. We do see Phoenix Flare is down here towards the bot lane. They are here ready for the fight for this. We might just have the full engage happening.
Yeah, of course, the Vi is down there as well. So 3v3 potentially shaping up around that bot side of the map. Dragon is alive now. And the wave in bot lane as well as in mid lane has kind of been very even at the moment, but the rotation over into the river for the Kaisa and the Alistar looks like this dragon will just be given over to Akuma. And so he will be tied up 1-1 in dragons.
Yeah, also worth mentioning, I think, for the side of Akuma, they should be able to start getting Olaf to proxy and get his quest done like earlier. You know, should be able to have time to start invading towards Gwen, be able to kind of scout her out, see where she is, get the timing that Olaf is able to clear so much faster than this Scion. So I'm hoping we're going to be able to see Dwami actually be able to utilize this lead top lane, because again, this is one of those things when you are taking these like major counter picks, you need this damage to come through and to like actually do something with your lead, right? You can't just have a 10 or 15 CS lead and be happy with that. Scion is going to out team fight you as Olaf.
Yeah, pretty much every time. It's so easy to play the game later on as Jolts, assuming you're not too far behind. You just got to stand there and take damage. It's quite simple as
here's another shuffle.
Sweep onto mid cool, but with the Ghost, Victor just glides back underneath this tower. Still, ult for Ghost is a trade that Cool Kitten is probably feeling pretty okay about. And Vault Breaker going forward as Rigor Mortis doesn't get the CC. Cease and desist still available for the Vi, but not wanting to commit that onto the Gwen. Unstoppable onslaught coming out from the Scion, but a little glide over the wall for Cool Kitten. Flashing in, his Chief gets the stun, forces out the flash from the Azir. Needlework committed there as well, but the Needles do not find the Pigeon. Now Cease and desist back over the walls. Phoenix Flare barely limping away from this one. Chaos Storm not going to be quite enough. There's Arcadius now with the flash engage onto the Scion, and they will be able to cut down Jokes. Never mind, tries to flash away. The flash follow from Dwami is there. They take down Jolts, and Akuma are now up 4-2.
Yeah, there was so much expended there. We can even see in the bot lane, there's a huge fight going on. Both AD carries popping their barriers. Kinetology doesn't flash. Oh my god!
Oh, Impress just read him like a book. Oh, you're gonna try to do some Alcove gaming? How about you do some Alcove dying? As now here comes the Alistar, finds the headbutt pull, and Impress is gonna get taken down as well. Vengeance for the AD carry.
Yeah, always feels bad dying to Sivir when she even shouts better duck, right? But we see this mid lane play does happen, like everyone just flashing from these very low health bars. And we see Dwami coming in with that Ghost here, was able to just get in there. And Jolts, unfortunately, just kind of the sacrificial lamb. Was a great flash, I think. Even having to get that flash out of Dwami just to trade that. I feel like you both want to have your summoner spells down if you're this Scion. It just means that you're able to, like, team fight so much easier. You know, Dwami Poppy, if he doesn't have any of his summoner spells, basically cannot be in a team fight whatsoever. Like, you're like Darius, I think, in that effect when you're playing Olaf.
Yeah, definitely. It's certainly makes things much more difficult. Actually missed in the original play the fact that Arcadius on that re-engage actually got the flash out from mid-cool's Victor as well. So really high value engage there from the Alistar. That's in addition, of course, to getting the kill onto Jolts. So now, you know, both the carries for the side of XSV Orion are going to be without flash for this next dragon spawn. We'll see if XSV are going to just elect to give this one up as well.
Yeah, I feel like there is the opportunity, right? This Herald is up. There is something you can play for on the other side of the map. Maybe run that into trying to get a first tower somewhere, something like that. you don't straight have to just give this, but Phoenix Flare is looking towards this blue buff here.
Ballbreaker will get the CC. Phoenix player undeterred, dashing forward actually for some snips. Arcadius on the front line, pops the unbreakable. Very deep on this Poppy. Killer Instinct over to the side for K Technology, picks up the kill onto the support, and there is the shuffle as they take down the Gwen as well. Beautiful engage from Arcadius, gets both of the carries who don't have the flash, and it's gonna be K Technology and Cool Kitten descending on the helpless Victor and Sivir. Mid Cool with the speed boost from the Cube, and it's Arcadius once again with the combo, and it's gonna be Cool Kitten with the damage. A 4-for-1 team fight. Massive win for the Peacemakers.
Yeah, and we see the gold going where you want it to be, right? That's 3 kills picked up there. I mean, Chief did just whiff a whole bunch, right? Tried to channel that ult and just split the uprights with it. But yeah, impressed there, just getting flashed on, not having any sort of chance there. Kentology being able to extend that summoner spell from bot lane that he had saved and was able to pick up a triple kill, which is just going to accelerate his game so much quicker. You can see already 2.5 items here closing in on that Rage Blade, I imagine, with those next couple of items, and that's going to be such a huge spike for this Kaisa.
Yeah, definitely. Doesn't have it quite yet, but it looks like this is indeed going to be another dragon that's just Arcadius on the Hex Flash wrap around. There is that interaction you were talking about earlier, where the Sivir only has 1 spell shield and the Alistar has 2 abilities that it uses to engage with. So that is going to be kill number 4 for K Technology on the Kaisa to complement nicely their second dragon.
Yeah, and Phoenix Flare is looking to start this objective up and see if they can get this trade, but I don't know if he's going to have enough time to take this.
For Arcadius and Cool Kitten. Herald, yeah. Phoenix Flare has to back away. And the Gwen is going to be a little bit chunked from that Herald start as well. And get a little bit of a healing off the Gromp. But now it's a position in the river for Akuma, as they now look to take down Shelly. And it looks like it will not be fought for. Another objective that XSV Orion are just not going to be able to fight for. And so we'll see what Shelly is going to get up to this game. And we saw Dwami utilized her very effectively in that game number 1. Remember where they got the cross map onto the top inner, and then he had that really nice drift maneuver into the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, this is also something you want to get your Olaf ahead, right? He has 170 CS. He's tied right now with Jolts. Hasn't even gotten that many plates. I think Jolts is playing incredibly well this game as the weak side tank, and I think they deserve a shout out for that.
An attempt from Cool Kitten does find himself on top of a gravity well, and that is going to be me getting baited once again.
Yeah, that's okay. We all succumb to it. The Zero Shuffle it's such a cool play. You always expect it to happen, then it doesn't almost half the time.
Yeah, Mid-Cool trading back pretty nice with his Beth Rays. And there it is!
There's
Cool Kitten with the conditioning. Gets Mid-Cool underneath the tower, but Phoenix Flare is here. And Cool Kitten, a lot of mobility, tries to flash away, but the Gwen does not care. Snips that pigeon into tiny little pieces. And it looks like they will be able to take this bot outer turret as well. Rigor Mortis in the area, but nothing the Vi can do by herself.
Yeah, Kentology looking, I think, down the river as well, but nothing coming with that. See, Olaf is proxying top lane, but Sound's just able to match that right now, just getting a little bit of a better reset for themselves. I'm curious to see what they're going to build second here. Hexblade. Okay, we're committing to 1v1 potential.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is a strong item on the Olaf, right? Once you pop that ultimate, it's critically important that you're able to stay on top of your opponents and keep attacking them in order to maintain the CC immunity, right? So certainly a strong purchase, but it does mean that it doesn't really provide that much durability. As in comes Rigor Mortis over the wall, looking for Chief. Season Desist is going to be committed. Killer Instinct over the top, and that Poppy is out of there. Rigor Mortis going to pick up the last hit. Number 1, I believe, for the Vi. Number 2, my mistake.
Yeah, and that was Exhaust burned as well. So that's going to not be available for this next team fight here. That's in 2 minutes. I think that might be up here. We do see Poppy is able to get a first tower eventually. Don't really know if he deserves credit for that, as he literally had to auto it once. But, Olaf on the board in terms of that. Do see Cool getting uncontested up here. Should get this top tower as well. Baron is up, but I don't think there's any sort of lead for either team that's going to be playing into that. But it's just going to see now for XSV is the real test is, can you defend your Gwen and give her the ability to keep farming, right? Because Gwen is ahead right now and is useful, but needs to be able to keep these camps up. So that's what I'm going to be trying to keep
Rami
my eye
popping the
out for
Ragnarok
XSV.
to turn this around onto Jolts. But in the end, it just wanted the CC immunity to trying to get away now, but is going to get slowed up by the Needlework. Flash committed for the Olaf. The Needlework does come out once again there, but it looks like Dwami was able to create enough distance. The Olaf will survive. But overall, a really successful past couple of minutes for Akuma. You know, we talked a lot about how this composition spikes very hard in the mid game, and that's exactly what we are seeing. And they're able to get a couple of turrets there, in addition to, you know, a couple more picks, and they've got themselves about a 4,500 gold lead. See if they can actually transition that into an Ocean Soul point take in the next 40 seconds or so. That would put them in a really good spot to try and look for the 2-0 in tonight's match.
Yeah, that's the name of the game right now, right? We have 30 seconds. You see all the vision basically on the entire map is centered around this dragon. We see the control ward directly placed on it by Akuma. They have the vision cut towards the red buff as well for when, so that they can see where Phoenix Flare is and get that set up early. And now it's the side of XSV of what do you do? Can you get mid priority? I don't think so. You don't have it right now.
Yeah, we do see him press off a reset, has that 2-item spike done on the Sivir, so you know, he is pretty strong. Midcool unfortunately wasn't quite able to get there on that Victor. Is very close to that second item, but just doesn't have it quite yet. Doesn't have teleport either, so it looks like they're not willing to fight for the dragon. They don't have the item spikes that they need. They don't have the control that they need. It will be soul point taken by Akuma. And it looks like they're going to get back into the mid lane to defend their tower. It's going to be the big 3-man pulverize from the Alistar. Keeper's verdict decent this time. Gets the Kaisa. But look at the Olaf running rampant in the back line. Just Ragnaroking all over him. Rocking and rolling. Is the Olaf will eventually get taken down. I think the damage may have been done. Phoenix Flare still pretty strong on the Gwen. Nice scoop from the Azir, but now Technology has to flash away.
What another big knockoff.
Gwen. They take down the Alistar Killer Instinct to try to finish off Phoenix Flare, but they're just not able to take him down. The Vi is going to get felled as well. Technology turns it back around, takes down Midcool, and wait, how did the Gwen die?
I think
somebody finished off that Gwen in the end. It ends up being a 4-for-4. As now Technology going to be forced to back away, not able to defend alone against the Scion. Chaotic fight. Very, very close. I'm not really sure how to assess the aftermath, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this replay for sure. Walk us through it.
So we see that Cool Kitten is able to get this big scoop and we think, oh, that's so great. But it's like into Technology, Gwen is able to get so much damage, isn't able to get fully burst out, pops his W down, and it's just waiting until it's gone, and then we see that last auto comes in from Cool Kitten, able to finish off that Gwen there. And I think if they didn't get that kill, Phoenix Flare might have been able to take that over to Baron and get XSV like a major, major win.
Yeah, really, really thin margins in that fight. You know, we are definitely seeing the team fighting power of XSV's composition was certainly a bit on display there, and Phoenix Flare in particular played it very, very well on that Gwen, did a lot of work in that fight, forcing Cool Kitten to kind of stick around there to actually finish off that kill, and then the Azir, you know, was obviously forced to trade himself to make that one happen. So overall, you know, the gold is about the same. It's still a 4,000 gold lead for Akuma. They did get that third dragon. It's massive for them. Chief now maybe in a little bit of trouble with the cease and desist. Not going to be committed this time. There were numbers in the area for XSV. So Rigamortis smart to not overcommit in that situation. But they are going to be able to threaten that top inner turret. Looks like that one is just going to go down. Nobody on the side of XSV in position to defend it. So now that goal lead going to extend just a little bit further. See if there's going to be a punish here, but no, Akuma may back away without an issue.
Yeah, I really want to see them try and get something more towards this fight. Like, they need to be able to defend Phoenix Flare, right? I keep talking about this, but Gwen needs so much money.
Oh,
and they need... oh, that's a Baron start because they don't have any vision.
No vision.
Yeah.
Okay, well, now we do see Chief moving in, but it's Azir and Kaisa. They do this really quickly. Phoenix Flare is right there. The Keeper's verdict.
What a great keeper.
That's jungler. And now the pop.
Can he burst it?
Down. Can they get back into the pit? Rigor Mortis gets back in there and nails the smite. The jungler for Akuma saves the day. And in comes the Azir for the big sweep. Everybody on XSV gonna get taken down. Only Jolt's alive to try to defend against 5 Baron buffs. And the Scion, he does have ult. He's going to try to do as much damage to this minion wave as he possibly can. Looks like he's eventually going to get taken down as well, though. Does get most of the minion wave. It's going to take a while to kill him, but look at the Azir. Look at Cool Kitten.
Yeah.
Has already got a wave pushed up to that top inhibitor tower. Chief has respawned. 10 seconds on the Gwen. I don't think the game will end here as we take a look at the replay.
Yeah, that was a great keeper's verdict, but just was unable to stink up, get that stun onto Kentology, and I feel like that was the difference there, right? That stun gives Phoenix Flare just that 1 second later, which gives you that third ult proc in the queue and is able to get that smite down. Rigor Mortis, though, able to get the smite, save the game for Akuma. And now for XSV, it's feeling pretty doomed here, right? There's not a lot going for you in terms of any sort of like advantage that you have. You're not able to get a back to front team fight, it feels like. And it's just this situation now of what can you do to make it so that Impress can actually deal damage in a fight, right? Because I don't
It's really hard.
I don't see a world where he's able to. There's so much poke now here. Rigor Mortis can just kind of queue forward like this with impunity. Has this Kainic Rooker done to even like ignore any poke? And it's 12 seconds to your soul spawns.
Okay, there's Headbutt Pulverize onto Jolts. The Scion is trying to do his job as the front line, trying to force his way into this river so that XSV can contest the Ocean Soul. Rigor Mortis trying to get himself into a flank position to threaten these carries. Remember, it's a really strong dive angle for Akuma if they can get themselves onto a priority target. Looking to maybe see some heroics from Chief again in this fight to try to protect those carries, but control over the area solidly in favor of Akuma as they start up the objective. Jolts on the Scion chunked down to about half already before the fight even starts. They're trying to burn down this objective. Decent decimating smash onto 2. Chief does find another pretty nice keeper's verdict onto a couple of members. Rigor Mortis is still in the pit this time. It's a good shuffle from the Azir as well. Vi looking for the smite, but this time it is Phoenix Flare on the Gwen who's able to get the objective, and the Vi is going to get taken down alongside the Dragon, but it's going to be Akuma.
But here's everyone else.
For the team fight. K-Technology on the Kaisa goes golden, buys a moment. Chief charging forward, gets taken down. It's another dominant team fight win as Dwami Poppy, they had no answer for the Olaf. Flashing in is the Scion. He can't get the last little bit of damage that he needed. Cool Kitten stands his ground, puts all the spears into the Juggernaut. And that might be it right there. It is 20 seconds on the Poppy and the Sivir, but a wave already in the base. Teleport coming in for the full resource Azir. And I think it's going to be Akuma Peacemaker possibly picking up the 2-0. The respawns will come through.
Yeah.
It's just going to be this mid inhibitor for now, actually.
Mid-inhib, bot tower as well, I think, taken here for the side of this Olaf. Dwami able to get that, I think, as well. But yeah, just a great smite from Phoenix Flare, right? Was able to take that alt Q and get that. And we can see it's very, very close. Sivir able to get so much damage down onto Cool Kitten and Kentology. But man, I really feel like that was just Jolts being able to kind of subvert himself, right? Get into that fight and just say, okay, we're fighting. I'm going to get in here. He took so much poke to do it, but that was really well played by them just to be able to get his team just the ability to even take that fight. And Chief, I think, also deserves a major shout out, right? He got his ult and he hit Dwami and Arcadius, right? And that meant that there was no CC and no front line really for Akuma. So they were able to get in and give them that time to get that objective. It was the similar play as what he tried to do on the Baron, right? Just didn't have as much time. The Baron was so much tankier.
Yeah, definitely. It is a little bit ironic, though, you know, the fact that it was imperative for the side of XSV Orion that they had to deny the Dragon, right? That had to be the focus. So they weren't really able to play for the fight, despite the fact they arguably have the stronger team fighting composition. So, the aftermath of that play, yes, XSV Orion were able to deny the Ocean Soul, which is, of course, great for them, but it was still Akuma Peacemaker, it's still Cool Kitten and K-Technology, the carries for the squads that were able to win out in the team fight, and they're maintaining a really strong grip right now over this game, able to take that mid inhibitor, and they have so much room to work with still to try to close this one out.
Yeah, but as long as they don't actually close this out, right? There's still a minute on Baron and things like that. This is Super Minion Gold just getting kind of funneled into a Sivir and into a Victor and things like that. That this is just extra resources currently just on the map for them.
All right,
That's big stun.
They catch Dwami Poppy there on a bit of a lazy recall. Tries to flash ready to get the blast on, but it's denied. The Olaf. Oh, it's Rigor Mortis, actually. My mistake, because the Vi is the one who was caught out there in the jungle. And that is a pretty big pick. The Baron spawning in 20 seconds as well. 5v4 on the map. This could be the start of a big turnaround for XSV.
Yeah, look at where Yeah, I was about to say, Olaf in a very weird position right now. I guess just looking for this flank.
The 4v5 once again here. Cool Kid does get a massive sweep onto 3. And K-Technology, Untouched Phoenix, they're trying to get on top of this. Kites up, and the knockup is there from the Alistar. And K-Technology is just going to rip them to shreds. Jolt's going to get taken down as well. And the cojones there on Akuma Peacemaker fully committing to the team fight in the 4v5. And they execute beautifully.
Yeah, that was just such a fantastic shuffle there from Cool Kitten. And we can just see just how much damage Kentology is able to do with this Kaisa build. Just fully online, free hitting with this lethal tempo and everything stacked. And that was just lights out.
Lights out indeed. They're on to the Nexus turrets now. The Poppy spawning in 5 seconds, Sivir in 10, but I don't think they're going to be in time to the Nexus turrets go down. Akuma Peacemaker are going to be picking up the 2-0 in their first match of the season.
Yeah, really well played by them. I just don't know what to say. I feel like as XSV, you just had no winning lanes, right? It's just that thing of like you picked so much scaling, you had such great team fight, and then your team had no early game whatsoever, that you had no real way to engage, you had no way to start plays, and it was too little too late that they just, even though they got that first dragon, I thought this game might be able to go later and they might be able to scale it. They just weren't able to get any sort of late game fight happening for them.
Yeah, in the end, it proved to be really difficult for them to set up the fights that they wanted, like you're just talking about, Storm. I think that, credit to Akuma, they did a really good job of focusing those objectives. They did lose out, remember, on the first dragon as well as the Void Grubs. But after that, they were really locked in on stacking up those dragons as quickly as possible, kind of forcing the hand of XSV Orion to fight before they were really ready, when they didn't really have the setup, right? Then just the fight at the end was just like, in a way, I feel like it was kind of a good summary of the match as a whole, right? It's like the side of XSV Orion were clearly drafting for team fight. That was their game plan coming out of Champion Select. But, on the Rift, it felt like it was kind of more the side of Akuma that were the ones out fighting them in a lot of situations.
Yeah, I mean, there was just so many. Arcadius, I think, was just incredible on that Alistar. He had so many huge knockout combinations that would just let Cool Kitten then come in and get those swoops off that were so easy. It gave so much room to Kentology to just absolutely dominate and pump out so much damage. We can see that he did 42k damage that game, did pretty much double everyone in that entire game. But I really think it was Arcadius as Alistar, that support, that really deserves the MVP for this game too, for me. They played so incredibly well and just had so many big plays for that team.
Yeah, I like it. I agree wholeheartedly, Storm. I think it's a very worthy POG for the support this time around. Remember, Arcadius had that early roam into the mid lane as well, where him and Rigor Mortis were kind of able to sandwich mid cool from both sides when the Victor didn't have flash. Meant that mid cool really just had nowhere to go. They were able to get, that was the first 2 kills, I believe, for Cool Kitten's Azir. The first couple of kills for him that game as a result of that early roam from the Alistar. And obviously we were able to see a lot of work that Cool Kitten was able to do later on in the game as well in those big fights. So I'm with you. Yeah, Arcadius, a phenomenal performance there on the Alistar, and what was objectively a pretty difficult matchup up against the Poppy, right?
Yeah, again, that was a lane he shouldn't have won or been able to exert as much pressure that he did, and just made that lane look so easy. Got so many combos onto Impress at key points, and just made it impossible for Sivir to play that game. And I think they played incredibly well.
Absolutely. And Akuma, Peacemaker overall played really, really well tonight. Very impressive first showing from them. Great start to the season. For the side of XSV Orion, I think we definitely saw some good moments as well. I think they had, a pretty sound strategy in terms of what they were looking for in these games. I really, in the end, it did feel to me like they kind of just got hands diffed in a couple of critical moments.
Yeah, I think there was definitely just a couple of points where they weren't in the right spot, right? They were just that couple of seconds behind. They weren't having the right spots of like warding and things like that. That there is a lot of points that they can definitely take a look back at these games. And I feel like they should be really strong coming into week 2. I wouldn't count them out in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we for sure chose a good one for our first stream of the season, despite the fact that it did end up being a 2-0. I think it's pretty safe to say that both of these teams are going to be, looking towards playoffs. I think we're expecting still both of these teams to be playoff teams for sure, right? So excited to see both of them, and as the whole season, all the teams in the ADL this season. Excited to see how it all shapes up. Would you have any other final thoughts to close out our week 1 stream storm? Any other closing remarks?
I don't have anything else. I just think it was fantastic to be here, guys. I'm really looking forward to the rest of this ADL season. Be really interesting to see who's going to kind of emerge as these big storylines, who's going to be the big upsets, and if we're going to be able to see any big, deep playoff runs by somebody new and interesting. That's always the cool thing to see in these amateur leagues, is you hear and see all these new names popping up and they're able to take championships. And I'm wondering who's going to be that this year.
Absolutely. A lot of League of Legends left to play, guys. Should be very, very exciting as we move forward for the winter split of ADL 26. That's going to do it for our week 1 broadcast. Thank you, everybody, very much for watching. Remember that we are going to have another league tomorrow night. Let me get that info for you really quickly. It looks like it's going to be the AML Oat Milk versus Stasis Gaming Barrage tomorrow night. Same time, same place. Make sure you tune in for that one. For myself, from Storm, from our wonderful producer, Macros, as well, and everybody here at Aegis, thank you all very much. We'll see you next time. Have an amazing night.
Bro, just use Zen Market.